Well, friends, this is Bob Ferguson, and I am here with my friend John Duvall. John and I have been in a discussion group for a couple of years, almost a couple of years, isn't it, John?
At least, yeah.
Time flies. And he understood I was doing positive intelligence work, asked me about it, and went through the program. Now I'm going to let him fill in the details of his background, but he did work on Dances with Wolves that got an Academy Award, and he was a longtime professor of film. And so, John, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Well, it's a pleasure, Bob. Glad to be here and give you some support. Yeah, my background has been kind of diverse. I went to the USC Cinema program and worked for about a decade or more in sound effects editing in Hollywood on major films, including Dances with Wolves, as Bob mentioned. Then after that, I was served as a university professor at two different universities over about 23 years, teaching communications and media studies, which is my area of specialty, especially with a focus on film and TV production and writing. And I retired in 2020, 3 years ago. And since then, I've been working as a screenwriter, an aspiring screenwriter, I should say, and also engaged in a number of social and political groups that I interact with, including my work with Bob on the transition movement, and also a group called Braver Angels that is trying to reduce polarization between right and left on the political spectrum. So that's kind of my the story of my activities over the past decades. Is that what you were looking for?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. A person of substance, we would call you. So you bumped into positive intelligence through me, and I asked you, would you like to join? You said, yeah, I think I would. Okay. So first question is, what did you appreciate the most about it? What was different about this program?
Well, I'm always looking for a way to prove my working efficiency and my personal efficiency in interacting with members of my fellow human race. Positive intelligence for me provides a couple of really important things. One is in the book, the intellectual framework for understanding partly the ways I sabotage myself, the things that I have in my psychology that keep me from really fulfilling my potential. Among those things are a tendency to easily get distracted and pressure I put on myself to achieve, and also sometimes a lack of empathy with people when I get into debates and arguments with people. So those are sort of my life challenges. Positive intelligence not only gives me a sort of a method of understanding where some of that stuff comes from in my life, but it also provides, this is the second part of it, the method of recentering when I find myself in those situations. I find myself being distracted or find myself getting argumentative with somebody. I can recenter, the little mini reps that you do, help you recenter in the moment. It's not being, having more self-awareness in the moment of what's going on inside me. It's a way for dealing with things in the moment instead of just sort of an abstract scheme for thinking about, who you are, how you work in the world. Both of those things I think are really important. And of course, anybody can read the book, and that's valuable. But to go into the program and see the videos and interact with other people that are engaged in the same kind of work, I felt to be even more helpful in terms of integrating it into my, my daily life.
One of the things that attracted me, of course, was the same thing with you, a good intellectual framework, a solid intellectual framework, some good science behind it, some valid reason to feel like there's validity to the process, but also an actual practice, which has, as you pointed out, a tactical value of being able to help you center in a moment when we tend to kind of go off the rails, but also a longer term development that allows for a kind of a quieting of the part of the brain that gives us trouble and an expansion and enlivenment of the part of the brain where we really want to have those faculties available to us. And so I'm hearing that was also important for you, correct?
Oh, very definitely. One of the questions you had posed was about a difference between this and other sorts of programs I've been involved with. And, like many people, I've read all of the books about habits of successful people and stuff like that. And those are all well and good. And I've also been, as you know, a practicer of transcendental meditation for decades. And I'm also sort of a disciple of Ram Dass. And those are all very valuable, but there's a difference in practice and employment between a 20-minute meditation versus when you're actually in a meeting or in a conversation with somebody and you feel like you're being triggered by your inner saboteurs. And that's what the little mini meditations, I call them, the little reps that allow you to catch yourself in the moment so that you can deal with it in present time rather than thinking about the next day. Damn, what should I have done differently in that conversation or in that meeting or whatever. So that's what draws me, the fact that it's practical and not just abstract. Yep. And that it's in the moment, timely. Those are the things I think that really raise positive intelligence above the level of a lot of other sorts of similar theories.
Right. Well, I guess final question is longer term developmental impacts. My question is, any kind of enduring impacts where you don't have to think, oops, I need to intervene, versus I think I'm just better at some of these things. So
yes, Shirzad talks about how the brain actually reconfigures itself, reorients itself over time when you do these practices continually. So something that maybe I'm writing and I get distracted and I catch myself being distracted, and the next time that happens, I'll catch it even sooner, or maybe I'll avoid it altogether. In terms of my personal work, my main focus right now is creative writing. And it's really easy in this world of YouTube and email and all the other things to just spend hours doing something other than what I really want to be focusing on. So I think it becomes a habit, whether it's, I don't know if it's the brain rewiring itself or just a matter of developing better mental habits. You do find that slowly but surely over time, your self-defeating behaviors and thoughts will start to fade into the background. Like Ram Dass always said, you don't get rid of all your flaws, they just become less and less and less over time as you develop your, mental and spiritual well-being. In practical terms, I find myself getting less distracted when I'm writing, being able to come back to focus on the work that I intend to be doing. And also, I can get triggered in arguments with people about politics and other things. And positive intelligence provides a way of snapping into greater consciousness so you can see what's going on and diffuse things like that in the moment. And develop more empathy to the people who are disagreeing with you. Because as someone else in one of your other videos said, other people have these self-defeating behaviors too. And so sometimes you can recognize what's going on in them as well as what's going on in yourself, and then strategize to move beyond that sort of polarization. So there's so much of that in our society today. I think that's a really helpful habit to develop.
Well, John, that is a wonderful little snapshot. I appreciate you being with me today and sharing your experience, and hopefully it will help other people think through and say, well, yeah, I might want to give that a try. So any final thought before we close?
Well, my biggest final thought is that I'm really happy that you're, a part of my life, and not just with positive intelligence, but with all the other things that we're involved in. I feel you're somebody who's really in service, and that's an important part of your life, to be in service to others. And I appreciate how much energy and thought you devote to all that.
Well,
so
John, thank you.
I'm happy to be in the Bob Ferguson fan club.
All right. Well, gosh, what do I say? Well, thank you very much. And folks, there you have John's story. So appreciate it, John.
Thank you.